how can you overcome this fear of hurting people and hitting people? Actually, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Welcome to the Heavy Hitters podcast, helping ambitious fighters and coaches take their game to the next level by bridging the gap between strength and conditioning, performance science, and Muay Thai. And here is your host, Don Heatrick.
When you first started training in the sparring, even in sparring and maybe doing your first fights, it's kind of scary to hit people. I don't want to hurt people. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
So how can you change your mindset for this?
So I've had exactly the same problem. So it's like I've literally had fights where I've had fights where I've won by TKO because I cut them from knees and elbows and stuff like that. And what's really weird is because I don't like hurting people, and what I found was in the fight. So this particular one, the one that really sticks with me because it was the mentality of it was so strange for me. So I'd just come back from the World Championships in Thailand, and I'd fought there, and this was my first domestic fight again, and it was against a guy from the gym where the overall England team manager was running. So he put me up against one of his fellas. So I knew it was going to be a tough fight. And we had the fight, and I was landing elbows and knees all the fight, and I was cutting him, and for some reason, I just kept going, and it was like, so in the fight, so there's difference kind of in training to in fighting, but in fighting, I had this mentality where we've both trained for it. We both know the rules. The objective is first and foremost for me to protect myself. I know that the rules are to try and win by KO so the judges don't have to give you a decision. So my objective really is, especially with the way Muay Thai is, to stop the other guy and not to win on points. I don't really want it to go to 5 rounds if I can. If there's the opportunity to stop the fight, then that's when I'm going to take the opportunity to stop it. And then I protected myself. I've done the best by myself. The other guy has exactly the same objective as I have. And we're both equally matched in terms of weight, experience. It's why we've been all put together. This is a fair test. So it's not like I'm just bullying someone. So, I expect this. I'm going to get as good as I take and give as good as I get and all that kind of stuff. I'm expecting that. Then there's also, so as a fighter, my job is to protect myself first and foremost. To protect the opponent, there is the referee. They can stop it. The corner team can throw the towel in if it's mismatched. And actually the fighter can just decide, no, I've had enough, go down on one knee and just say, no, I give up. Really hard for a fighter to do that, a real fighter. But there's those 3 fail safes. Yeah. So if it's too much for them, it's not my job as the opponent to stop it. There are these 3 other people that do it first. And if they don't do it, that's kind of not my fault. And that was kind of where I was in the fight. It was like, that's the game we've signed up to. And I respect that. He respects that. So it's not like he's expecting me to stop. It's like these other people are expecting it to stop first. So that was the way I treated it. And I was just landing elbows and knees the whole fight. And every time I was landing them, it was really weird because I don't like hurting people. But every time I hit him with one and I felt it sink in, and it was like, good, I'm closer to stopping him. I'm closer to stopping him. And I just kept waiting for the referee to stop it. I was like, I could see there's blood now. He's not stopping it. Right. Well, I've just got to keep doing what I'm doing. Bump, bump, bump. He didn't stop it. He didn't stop it. I just kept going and going and going. I think there was another round or 2 since I started cutting him. And the whole rounds, I was just hitting him with stuff like that. And then eventually the medic was called in the corner, had a look at him, waved it off, said, that's it, stopped. And it was at that point, it was like the veil lifted off my vision. And then I looked at him for the first time as a human again. I'd kind of come out of fight mode. And then I saw what I'd done to him. And I was like, oh my God, look at the state of his face, all that sort of stuff. But at that stage, that was all the logic that was just in my head was just that it's not my job to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to do enough damage to stop him, but it's not my job to stop it. Other people call it when it's enough. Ordinarily, you know, if you catch someone with a KO shot, that's it. It's done anyway, isn't it? But with stuff like cuts and stuff, and they can keep going. That's my example of like the weirdest kind of extended battle where I was doing lots of damage and it didn't get stopped, and it felt really weird that I didn't. And afterwards, it was like, whoa, how did I do that to somebody? It was like, ooh. But it was just that I had that logic in my head: protect myself. These other 3 guys are actually responsible for stopping it, not me. I just don't break the rules, hit him when he's down or do any of that stuff. For me, that would be, I'd hate that if I did any of that sort of stuff. But it's not my job to stop it if the referee's still saying fight on. It's like, well, okay. So that's how I treat it. There's this kind of like almost robot logic, I suppose, that cuts in, that I'm in here to do a job and I've trained for it. In training, it's a bit different. They're your teammates and all the rest of it. You don't actually want to hurt them. At the same stage, so I'm not using things like elbows and knees into people's faces for a start in training.
You should not.
No, it's punches and soft weapons. You know, it's that kind of stuff. And I won't follow up with a shot if I've caught someone and it, you know, it's an accidental shot that kind of went home. They walked into it a little bit more or whatever. It's kind of like acknowledge it. Oof, that was good. You're right. Yep, cool. Right, we're carrying on again. But I also have this attitude where in sparring, if someone catches me with a shot, that is not their fault. That's my fault because I didn't have my guard up. That's how I look at it. So I don't get kind of angry with the other person. I'm kind of like, ooh, thanks for showing me I had a hole in my guard there or whatever. I'm doing something wrong here. So I have that kind of attitude, but also, so if I catch someone, I'm thinking the same thing. I didn't deliberately try and go and take their head off on that, but I caught them with something and I'll acknowledge like, yeah, that went in a bit heavier than I meant to. I got a clean strike when I wasn't expecting one, or they've walked into it or whatever. But I also, my act of actually catching them rather than like, oh God, and second guessing myself, I'm actually thinking I'm helping you find a hole. Because if we can plug this gap, you won't get caught with that shot. I'm actually helping you rather than trying to hurt you. And it might be, if it's like especially if it's someone less experienced and all the rest of it, and you kind of keep catching them with a shot, it's like, right, well, I'm going to really power down now. And we're going to kind of use this as this is the hole I keep seeing or accidentally discovering. This is the bit we need to plug up. I'm now going to feed it to you or whatever, you know? So it's more like it's a learning thing now. And it's like, if I get caught or you get caught, it's a good thing. It's a good thing I catch you in playing than your opponent finds it in the ring. And now you're getting stopped, KO'd, cut or whatever. It's kind of like, this is the way I look at it. So when I do, I'm not deliberately looking to, there are obvious kind of, depending on the weight of the person you're training with as well, if you're a lot heavier than them and all the rest of it, or they're a lot heavier than you, the contact levels that are going in, all the rest of it. So you're sort of making a judgment call on how much of your power to use and all the rest, you know, all that. And how heavy the sparring is meant to be anyway. Sometimes it is more technical, and sometimes this is more heavier contacts. We're doing a bit of conditioning here as well. But that it should be that there's a learning aspect to it. And as long as I have that framed in my head, I'm absolutely fine with even hitting people in training. But it's hitting them with a relevant amount of power as well, depending on their size, experience, and all the rest of it. So that's how I personally rationalize it. And then it all kind of feels fine. It all feels fine.
Yeah, because you have this kind of Thai mentality that your opponent is actually your best teacher.
Yes,
so,
exactly that. And I'm exactly the same in the fight, in the ring as well. It's like that's how I see the fight. It's the ultimate test, because this is it with everything amped right up now, and either what I've been doing works or it doesn't. And it's the styles as well. You're learning from that. How does my style work against this person? The people I've been training with have all had this kind of style and know me quite well, so they know my style. And now how does it work with completely different style from perhaps even a different country, let alone a gym and all the rest of it? And it's now, how does this work? And this is like, we've got to kind of play on the fly now and figure out what I can do to mess them up most and mess myself up the least. And it might be something completely different to what I've been doing in training, because no one behaves like that in training. or especially if the contact levels or freedom's up to the max, like it is in a fight. So, yeah, it's all about learning, really. And if you've got that mentality, despite it being full contact and damaging, it's kind of like the damage is the side effect and not kind of like what you're trying to achieve. You're just trying to stop the fight as quickly as possible under the rule set, and you both signed up for that, you know.
Makes sense, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks for listening. If you found this valuable, please like, subscribe, and share with someone else it could help too. Please give the podcast a review or comment below. We'd love to hear from you. As always, you can visit Heatrick.com for more Muay Thai performance podcasts, videos, articles, and guides. Catch you next time.